So I was grabbing coffee with a buddy last week, and he looks at me and goes, "Dude, if I ever got rich, first thing I'd do is buy a Ferrari." And I just started laughing. Because here's the thing I've learned. Truly rich people don't buy Ferraris. I mean, they do, but it doesn't even matter. Let me tell you a story. 2019, I'm at this event in New York. Guy walks up to me. We start chatting. Seemed totally normal. Jeans, button-down shirt, nothing flashy. Later I found out this dude's net worth was $2.3 billion, and he was using an iPhone, a 4-year-old iPhone. But then he said something that stuck with me. Last month, I paid my lawyers $180,000 just for one meeting. That's when it clicked. Rich people don't spend their money on the stuff we think they do. Today I'm going to break down what the ultra-wealthy actually pay for. And trust me, some of this is going to shock you. Especially number 7. You would never guess it in a million years. Let's dive in. Okay, so here's the first thing you need to understand. When you have real money, I'm talking 8 figures and up, you stop thinking about money completely. Instead, you start obsessing over time. I know that sounds weird, but hear me out. You know how you might spend 2 hours researching which TV to buy on Amazon? Reading reviews, comparing prices, waiting for Prime Day to save $150? A wealthy person pays someone $200 an hour to do that for them. And before you say that's wasteful, think about it this way. If your time is worth $3,000 an hour, and for these people, it legitimately is. Through investments, business decisions, so they outsource everything. And I mean everything. I talked to this guy who manages a family office in Connecticut. He told me about one of his clients, tech entrepreneur. He sold his company for $400 million to employ someone full-time just to manage his email. Not answer it, just organize it. Flag important stuff. Filter out junk, make sure nothing falls through the cracks. That person makes $75,000 a year. Another one I heard about is a billionaire in Los Angeles who has someone on staff whose only job is to research and book restaurants. That's it. The family decides they want to try somewhere new. This person does all the research, makes the reservation, coordinates with the restaurant about dietary restrictions, arranges transportation, the whole 9 yards. $60,000 a year for that position. Or, here's a crazy one. There's a woman in Miami real estate fortune who pays someone $90,000 annually to be her life admin. This person handles literally everything. Scheduling doctor's appointments, managing household repairs, dealing with customer service calls, tracking warranty information, organizing photos, you name it. Anything that would require her to be on hold or fill out a form or deal with bureaucracy. This person does it. And here's what's wild. These aren't rich people being lazy. They're being strategic. Every minute they're not doing that stuff is a minute they can spend making money, spending time with family, or doing literally anything else. Time is the only thing they can't buy more of, so they're willing to pay almost anything to get it back. Think about it. You can always make more money. You can't make more time. Now here's where it gets really interesting. We've been conditioned to think that rich people want to own everything, right? The biggest house, the fanciest car, all of that. But that's actually old money thinking. The new elite, they don't want to own stuff. They want access. Let me give you an example. There's this company called Wheels Up. It's like NetJets, but slightly different. You pay them, let's say, $50,000 a year for a membership, and then you can book private flights whenever you want. You're not buying a plane. You're not even buying shares of a plane. You're just paying for access to a whole fleet. And yeah, the flights themselves are still expensive. But compared to owning a $60 million Gulfstream that sits in a hangar 350 days a year, with maintenance, pilots on, salary, insurance, hangar fees, depreciation, you're saving millions. Plus, you can take different sized planes depending on the trip. Need something big for a family vacation? Done. Quick day trip to another city? Smaller jet, lower cost. This model is everywhere now. Their SA service in California, where you pay $30,000 a year, and you get access to a rotation of supercars. One weekend, you're driving a Lamborghini Huracan. Next weekend, it's a McLaren 720s. Different car every time. Service handles insurance, maintenance, storage, everything. You just show up and drive. Watch pass? Same deal. There are subscription clubs where you pay $15,000 a year, and you can swap between watches it would cost $500,000 to own outright. Wear a Rolex Daytona in January. Switch to a Patek Philippe Nautilus in February. Try an Audemars Piguet in March. Never buy, never maintain, just wear. Even houses. I'm not talking about vacation rentals or timeshare. There are these exclusive residence clubs, Inspirato exclusive resorts. Places like that where you pay a few $100,000 to join, and then you have access to luxury properties all over the world. Beach house in Maui 1 month. Ski chalet in Switzerland the next. Penthouse in Manhattan after that. No property taxes, no maintenance headaches, No worrying about stuff breaking while you're not there. The math is insane when you think about it. Why tie up $50 million in homes you barely use when you could have access to $200 million worth of properties for a fraction of that? It's not about owning. It's about having it when you want it and not dealing with it when you don't. All right, so we've talked about time and access. Now let's get to what might be the craziest part. Experiences. But not regular experiences. Impossible experiences. Things that literally cannot happen unless you have stupid money. I'm going to give you some examples, and I want you to just sit with how absolutely bonkers these are. There's a company, I won't name them, that will close down the Sistine Chapel for you. Just you and your family. No tourists, no crowds, no one taking iPad photos in your way. Just you and Michelangelo's ceiling. Private art historian included. Cost somewhere around $5 million, and people pay it multiple times a year. Here's another one. There's a service that specializes in recreating meals from restaurants that no longer exist. Your favorite pasta dish from that place in Rome that closed in 1997, they'll track down the original chef, convince them to either consult or actually cook it themselves, source the exact ingredients, even try to recreate the ambiance. Someone paid $120,000 for this. For pasta? Antarctica trips. Sure, tons of companies do those. But there's one that sets up a full luxury heated camp just for you. We're talking heated floors, memory foam beds, a private chef preparing gourmet meals, heated showers, the whole deal. In Antarctica, 3 weeks, around $2 million, and they handle everything. But my absolute favorite story, and I fact-checked this because I didn't believe it, is about a tech billionaire who paid to reunite his favorite band from college. The band had broken up 12 years earlier. Some of the members weren't even on speaking terms. He paid $3 million to get them back together, rehearse, and play at his 50th birthday party. One night, $3 million. Now here's the key thing. These aren't just expensive versions of normal stuff. These are fundamentally scarce experiences. The Sistine Chapel can't be closed for 100 people at the same time. That band can only reunite once. This isn't like buying a Rolex where if you have the cash, you can get one. This is about making impossible things happen. And that's what money buys at this level. Not stuff, not even experiences really. Scarcity, exclusivity, the ability to bend reality in ways that shouldn't be possible. Now let S talk about something that actually makes sense, but at a scale that S pretty wild. Education, but not the way you're thinking. Yeah, they're paying $65,000 a year for private school, but that's just the beginning. That's not even the expensive part. Private tutors, for every subject, not because their kid is struggling, but just to give them an edge. $150 to $300 an hour, multiple times a week, across 4 or 5 subjects. That's easily another $80,000 to $120,000 a year on top of tuition. Then there are college admissions consultants, not your school guidance counselor. These are people who charge $75,000 to $250,000 to manage the entire college process. They map out your kid's entire high school trajectory from freshman year. What classes to take, what extracurriculars to pursue, what leadership positions to aim for, how to craft a narrative, everything. It's like having a project manager for your kid's future. Summer programs are another one. These aren't summer camps. These are $25,000 to $50,000 programs at Oxford or Cambridge, or archaeological digs in Peru, or marine biology research in the Galapagos. Stuff that looks incredible in a college application and also happens to be an amazing experience. But here's where it gets really interesting. More and more wealthy parents are hiring what I call adulting consultants for their kids in their 20s. These are basically life coaches / career advisors / therapists / networking facilitators, all rolled into one. They help young adults figure out their path, make connections, navigate early career decisions. $10,000 to $25,000 a month for these services. I talked to a wealth advisor who told me about a client who spent $600,000 over 3 years helping his daughter find her purpose. That included various coaches, funding for her to try starting 3 different businesses, traveling to meet with mentors, therapy, everything. 2 of the businesses failed. One kind of worked. The dad's perspective, the best money I ever spent. She learned more from those failures than she would have from any job. And you know what? He's kind of right. What they're really buying isn't just education. They're buying a safety net. They're creating an environment where their kids can experiment, fail, pivot, and try again without the existential terror that most people face. They're buying freedom to figure it out. Okay, this is where things get absolutely insane. The amount of money ultra-wealthy people are pouring into health and longevity is mind-blowing. And most people have no idea it's happening. You've probably heard of concierge medicine, right? You pay your doctor an annual retainer and you get better access. Same-day appointments, longer visits. Entry level is like $2,000 to $5,000 a year. Pretty reasonable. But the ultra-high net worth version, $80,000 to $200,000 annually. And for that, you're not getting a doctor. You're getting a team. A primary care physician who coordinates everything. Specialists on call. Comprehensive testing multiple times a year. Genetic sequencing, advanced cancer screenings, metabolic panels, hormone optimization, everything. Your doctor will fly to you if you get sick while traveling. They're basically on call 24/7. But even that's not the top of the pyramid. There are people spending literally millions on longevity optimization, and I'm not exaggerating. Full-body MRI scans every 3 months, $8,000 each time. They're looking for cancer or issues before symptoms even appear. Continuous metabolic monitoring with real-time coaches, $60,000 a year. Experimental anti-aging protocols, peptides, NAD infusions, senescent cell clearance, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, easily $100,000 to $200,000 annually. Some people are installing hyperbaric chambers in their homes, $150,000 up front, plus maintenance. You've probably heard of Brian Johnson, that tech guy who's spending $2 million a year trying to reverse his aging. He's not alone. There's a whole community of ultra-wealthy people who view their bodies like a car that needs premium maintenance and constant upgrades. I talked to a doctor in Beverly Hills who works exclusively with these folks. He told me something that stuck with me. My patients are basically human guinea pigs for future medicine. They're trying treatments that won't be mainstream for another 10 to 15 years. Some of it works, some doesn't, but they can afford to experiment. And here, that's the thing that really got me. They're not doing this just to live longer. They're doing it to stay sharp. One of his patients told him, "I am not trying to live to 100. I am trying to still be mentally sharp and energetic at 75 so I can keep building." That's the mindset. Health isn't about living. It's about performance. Now let's talk about something most people never consider: privacy. When you have serious money, you become a target. So wealthy people spend insane amounts to become basically invisible. Personal security is the obvious one. But we're not talking about one bodyguard. A typical high net worth security setup looks like residential security team at their main home. $300,000 to $500,000 a year. 2 close protection officers who travel with them. $150,000 to $200,000 each. Security drivers trained in evasive maneuvers. $120,000 to $150,000 per driver. Cybersecurity team monitoring their digital footprint. $100,000 to $200,000 annually. But the really interesting stuff is privacy infrastructure. Wealthy people don't own things in their own name. Everything is owned through layers of LLCs, trusts, and shell companies. Your house isn't owned by John Smith. It's owned by Mountain Ridge Properties LLC, which is owned by Summit Ventures Holdings, which is managed by a law firm in Delaware. This isn't just for taxes though, that's part of it. It's so people can't easily figure out what you own, where you live, what you're investing in. Everything is obscured behind corporate structures. There are privacy consultants who charge $75,000 to $150,000 a year just to scrub their clients from the internet. They find every photo, every mention, every public record, and either get it removed or buried so deep in search results that no one will find it. One consultant told me he creates information pollution for his clients. He'll create similar but slightly incorrect information online that misleads people. Multiple addresses in different states, conflicting business associations, anything to make the real information harder to find. Then there's reputation management. Teams of people monitoring every mention of their client's name online. Something negative pops up. They flood Google with positive content, pursue legal options, or use SEO tactics to bury it on page 47 of search results. I heard about one family that spends $500,000 a year on reputation management, not because they've done anything wrong, just as preventative maintenance. That's $500,000 just to control their public image. The goal is simple: disappear from public view while maintaining influence. Be powerful but invisible. All right, we touched on this earlier, but let me blow your mind with how completely some wealthy people have delegated their lives. There are people who have never been inside a grocery store as adults. I'm serious. They have private chefs or meal prep services handling everything. One family spends $280,000 a year on a private chef who plans meals, shops, preps, cooks, and even coordinates with their personal trainer and doctor to optimize their nutrition. They never think about food. It just appears. But that's just the start. Here are actual positions that wealthy people hire for. Personal social media manager. Someone who posts their vacation photos, responds to comments, manages their public persona. $50,000 to $90,000 a year. For their personal Instagram gift coordinator, this person remembers every birthday, anniversary, and special occasion. They buy gifts, wrap them, ship them, send cards. The wealthy person never has to remember anyone's birthday again. $55,000 to $75,000 annually. Wardrobe manager, not a stylist. Someone who inventories their entire closet, coordinates outfits, packs for trips, handles all dry cleaning and repairs, rotates seasonal items, and yes, shops for new clothes. $70,000 to $120,000 a year. Travel coordinator. This is different from a travel agent. This person is on staff. They know your preferences, your frequent destinations, your loyalty programs. You say, I want to go to Tokyo next month, and they handle literally everything. Flights, hotels, restaurant reservations, ground transportation, even getting your prescriptions refilled before the trip. $65,000 to $100,000 annually. Personal, IT person. Someone who sets up all their devices, troubleshoots tech issues, manages cloud storage, handles cybersecurity, updates software. Never call tech support again. $80,000 to $120,000 a year. I even heard about someone who employs a person full-time just to manage their to-do list. Not to do the tasks. To manage the list itself. Track what needs to be done. Follow up with other staff members. Make sure nothing falls through the cracks. $65,000 a year for list management. Here, guess what blew my mind? I calculated that some ultra-wealthy families have 15 to 25 full-time employees just managing their personal life. Not their business, their personal life. Chef, house manager, nanny, tutor, assistants, security, drivers, IT person, wardrobe manager, the list goes on. One wealth manager told me, my clients don't do anything they don't want to do. If it's not enjoyable or directly making them money, someone else is handling it. Now let's talk about the boring stuff that costs a fortune, legal and financial infrastructure. You know how you might pay a CPA $500 to do your taxes? Wealthy people have entire teams, and I mean entire teams. A typical ultra-high net worth individual has a family office. This is basically a private company that manages all their wealth. Staff of 5 to 20 people. Investment managers, accountants, lawyers, administrative staff. Running a small family office costs $1 million to $3 million a year. Larger ones can be $10 million annually. Multiple law firms on retainer. One for estate planning, one for business matters. One for litigation if needed. Sometimes one for privacy issues. Retainers alone can be $50,000 to $200,000 per firm annually, before you even need them to do anything. Specialized accountants and tax strategists. These aren't your H&R Block people. These are folks who structure everything to minimize tax liability legally. Basically $200,000 to $500,000 a year in fees. Risk managers, people who analyze every aspect of their financial life for vulnerabilities. What if this investment goes bad? What if there's a lawsuit? What if regulations change? $100,000 to $300,000 annually. One lawyer I talked to works exclusively with families worth $500 million and up. He told me his clients spend an average of $750,000 a year just on legal and financial infrastructure before any specific projects or issues come up. That's just the cost of maintaining the machine. And here's the wild part. It's worth it, he said. For every dollar his clients spend on this infrastructure, they save or make $5 to $10 through tax optimization, better investment returns, risk mitigation, and avoiding costly mistakes. The goal is to build a system so robust that money flows in efficiently and nothing leaks out unnecessarily. 26 minutes and 30 seconds to 28 minutes and 30 seconds. The relationship economy, here's something I didn't expect. Ultra-wealthy people spend enormous amounts of money on relationships. And I don't mean gifts, though there's that too. I mean strategically investing in their network. Private club memberships are the obvious one. Soho House, Zero Bond, Court Club, whatever. Those are $3,000 to $5,000 a year. No big deal. But then there are the real clubs, the ones with 5-year waiting lists and $250,000. Initiation fees plus $50,000 annual dues. These aren't about the facilities. They're about who else is a member. Exclusive conferences and retreats. But here's where it gets interesting. Wealthy people also pay to facilitate relationships for other people. I talked to someone who spent $50,000 on a dinner party, not for themselves. They hosted it to introduce 2 friends who they thought should do business together. It worked. Those 2 friends ended up partnering on a deal, and the person who threw the dinner got brought in as an investor. Or they'll donate big money to charities, not just because they care about the cause. though many genuinely do but because it gets them access to other major donors. A $100,000 donation to the right charity gets you invited to a dinner with 20 other people who also give. $100,000. Now you're in a room with serious players. Some wealthy people even employ what are basically professional networkers. People whose job is to maintain relationships, make introductions, and keep the social wheels greased. Hey, remember you met so-and-so at that event last year? They're working on something you should know about? That kind of thing. $75,000 to $150,000 a year for that role. The mindset is, your network is your net worth, and they're willing to invest accordingly.
Let me bring this all together. When I started researching this video, I thought I'd find a bunch of ridiculous luxury purchases. Private islands, golden toilets, stupid stuff like that. And sure, some of that exists. But what I actually found is that truly wealthy people are playing a completely different game. They're not buying stuff. They're buying time by delegating everything. Access. Instead of ownership, experiences that are fundamentally scarce, education, and opportunity for their kids. Health and longevity, privacy and security infrastructure that protects and grows wealth, relationships, and network effects. That $180,000 legal meeting I mentioned at the start, that was for negotiating one clause in a contract that could save the guy $50 million over 10 years. That's not wasteful. That's probably the smartest $180,000 he ever spent. And that 4-year-old iPhone. The guy does care about having the latest phone because his attention is on things that actually matter to his goals. Here's what I realized. We think rich people are wasteful because we're re-looking at the wrong things. Yeah, some of them buy Ferraris and yachts. But that's just noise. The real money is going to stuff that's completely invisible to most people. Infrastructure, systems, time, access. Things that compound over years and decades. So the next time someone tells you they'd buy a Ferrari if they were rich, just smile. Because now you know. Truly wealthy people are playing an entirely different game. And the Ferrari? That's just a toy. It doesn't even matter. Alright, that's it for today. If you found this valuable, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment letting me know what surprised you most. I'll see you in the next one.